Ecopoetics. Ecopoetics is an eco-critical neologism that strives for the incorporation of ecological or environmental perspective into the study of poetics and into the reading and writing of literary works. The words poetics and poetry derive from the classical Greek word poiesis, which means making. Making is by no means an exclusively human practice. Many other species make things, some of which display not only high levels of craftsmanship but also an aesthetic sensibility. Therefore, ecopoetics is not restricted to the consideration of ecologically oriented or environmentalist texts. It includes non-fiction prose nature writing, novels, mixed media work involving collaborations between poets and visual or sound artists, and public art installations that put poetry in the landscape. The natural systems that have enabled these diverse creative practices might also be seen as poetic or rather autopoetic, continuously generating new forms and patterns and dissolving old ones. This is a dynamic process of open ended becoming. Human poesy is thus both continuous with that of other species and sustained by the uncontinuous poesy of the earth. The core concern of ecopoetics is to consider how what we make, especially but not exclusively with words. This might in turn help sustain these other human poetic practices and autopoetic processes. Ecopoetics follows the usage in privileging the verbal art form of poetry. In ecopoetics, poetic meter might be perceived as answering to nature's own rhythm, an echoing of the song of the earth itself. Bate locates the value of ecopoetic writing as a making of the dwelling place, that is, oikos, in its capacity to counter the technocratic reduction of all things. Eco-critic Leonard Schiavone proposes a theory of poetic reference. This theory acknowledges the limits of language and refers the reader's perception beyond the printed page to nature in search of practices of atonement or at one-ment with nature's rhythms and cycles. Gilchrist's Poetics of Restraint discusses the domination and destruction of other species as facilitated by forms of symbolic appropriation that translate the non human world into words tied to human desires. Rigby's Ecopoetics of Negativity elaborates on poetic writing that discloses its own inadequacy as a form of representation. The textual artifact has the ability to point beyond itself to indicate how and why experience, knowledge, and action can support other than human life.